Good evening and welcome to an end of the week video here for SPY and trade plan for this week. I haven't done one for a couple of weeks, so there's going to be a lot of recaps here. Starting back here on June 10th. First of all, I had these June 2019 calls here at 89. As you can see, reduced. Took the rest of them out at 290, excuse me, at 96. Overall, small winner there. Added once there was a nice trigger here, these 290 calls here at 178, rode those up as pretty far as I could. Reduced some here at 210, the rest of them trailed me out here at 188. End of the day, tried to take something overnight, took these 290 calls here at 90 and trailed me out here end of the day. Of course, in hindsight, that would have been an amazing hold overnight. It was a very nice setup, just didn't have any faith. There was a nice H cell setup that looked like it was going to fail and break lower here. Over on the daily chart, you can see very bearish days, and it was hard to believe something was going to gap up after this kind of daily candle. But anyways, it is what it is. Missed out on that one. Tuesday, 292 calls here at 53, out a few candles later here at 42. Had a nice lower wick here. Took these 289.5 calls here at 120. Didn't hold them long enough. They did go slightly profitable. Trailed me out here on this little dip below inverted hammer at 114. Tried again here later in the day, these 289 calls here at 274 and took them out for a small loss down the bottom. But I ended up getting back in almost exactly low a day in these 289 calls, reduced here at 110. Should have taken them all off, of course, in hindsight, but did not. So I added over here at 52, took my average down. The next day, trailed me out at 50 cents. So that ended up essentially being a wash. Tried to get back in, had an inside bar here off the open at 70. Added because it looked like we were going to set up a base. Once it broke down below here, I did go ahead and dump those. Also told the guys at Trade Crew I was willing to flip if I was wrong, and trailed me out. So went in these 288.5 puts, 58, took some off here at 79, almost exactly lower day, and trailed the rest out, thankfully, because those would have gone against me as well. Overall, decent trades there on the first couple of days. Later on here on Wednesday, took these 290 calls here at 216, held those overnight. Also took these puts here, these 287 puts here at 66. I want to trade both sides of the tape because what was happening is we were holding below the weekly open. So anywhere that it ran from one side to the other, I thought it was going to be a big move. Well, we ended up having a nice gap up and took those calls off. Actually added onto them up here and took them off later on in the day. So anyways, ended up being a decent trade there. Should not have added to them, of course. I held those actually for a nice move, which I'll get to where they closed out. Anyways, these puts here, I closed out off the open here right at 38. So as I added into these, didn't seem to go immediately in my favor, so I reduced them once it came back down, held the remainder. Didn't do anything here. I believe this was Thursday. No, that was Friday. So didn't do anything, held them over the weekend. Had a nice move up here on Monday. So I added the second portion of them back in here at 213, and as you can see, I held all the way, reduced on this gap up here Tuesday, 290, reduced to 340, and reduced to 411. Finally, the rest took me out on a couple of small fills here. Of course, in hindsight, this was a bull flag. Probably could have held them a little bit longer, but did not. So a very nice trade there overall. Just had to do a little bit of positioning to get into what I wanted to as far as an expected move. Now, price broke down from this little bit of a head and shoulders pattern, failed bull flag, whatever you want to call it. So I took these 19Jun2019 puts here at $1, reduced here on low of day at 120. The rest trailed me out just on this pop over small base here at 102. So ended up making some money going both ways there. Okay, on to Wednesday. Took these 292.5 calls here at 109. Had a nice pop after that point. Didn't take anything off up here. Reduced actually on the way down. And had these, I'm not sure, I don't remember what the news was, but a nice, very nice pop-up. Maybe this is the Fed minutes or whatever that came out. Had a nice move up here at 150, which took me out, and it was exactly, I think that was exactly the high point of that move. But I had my order already set there, and Trade Crew guys knew exactly what I was looking at. So here's my offer. I'm not going to hold it any further. Of course, had I held overnight, it would have been a much nicer move. Now, later on the day, next day, excuse me, on Thursday. Looked like we were going to have a breakdown, nice gap up, and I thought we were going to roll all the way back down through here, maybe putting a bearish engulfing bar. That was not the case. So had these 295 puts here at 235. Immediately closed that out on this pop-up. I wasn't willing to give a bearish trade any chance to go against me, so immediately got out. Ended up, due to implied volatility pop, and actually got out for a little bit of profit right there. Same thing happened over here. Took these 295 puts here off of a red inverted bar. and broke above a base, took me out for a very small gain. Pretty much a free trade. It essentially took care of the commissions. Now, end of the day, I took these two spreads here. These are for specifically for after G20, which is I believe on the 29th of June. I expect that Monday, I believe, is the first for some news to come out, whether there's a deal or not. So I'm in these extremely cheap call spreads and put spreads. There's going to be a big move one way or the other, so we'll see what happens with that. Friday, had my gap down counter gap trade set up here, so I took two stabs at it. Now the original one obviously would have worked, but it just shook me out here on this big long wick. It had some big sellers on the tape. I thought we were going to push down and take out low of the day, so in at 58, trailed me out at 50. So once there was a base that set up, I went ahead, took another stab. These same 294 calls here at 62, reduced on the initial pop up to this little trend line that was there, held some, reduced some more here at 81, which is my original sell target. Had a nice flag that set up, took some more off of a dollar flat. The rest of them trailed me out up here at 147, which was a very nice move. So good last 2 weeks for SPY, and looking forward to what happens in the coming weeks. Now on to the plan that I'm looking for. Just basically looking to buy some pullbacks here. So basically at these moving averages, wherever price action opens up, if we come down and test, I'll be looking for 293 calls about 2 weeks in the future. For a small swing down here at the 21 and 50, I will be looking for these 289 calls within that range, and the 200 SMA way down here. Now I want to touch on the E-mini futures, because while the SPY just looks like just a jumbled mess right here as far as these two bars. This is potentially a red hanging man bar, high volume, had quad witching on Friday. Looks like it could be a potential top, but in my opinion, it's probably too obvious to be a top for it to actually be a top. So over onto E-mini futures, just to show what's actually happening on the day. We did put in a red inverted bar on somewhat elevated volume for a quad witching day. The volume wasn't that great. And what I do have here is a big bull flag that does have a measure move up to about 3,050 points. Now I think in order for that to happen, there's going to be a catalyst as a result of the G20 summit. Not really expecting much before then. Maybe we're going to pull back down. For those reasons, I'm looking for the pullbacks to the 8 and 21 moving averages. Just for a technical trade, because right now the macro events don't really say to do anything. We are at a prior peak. This trend line here is acting as resistance. Actually, I probably could have connected it to this guy right here, just to illustrate where we're at in relation to price action and what it's been doing. So we pierced above what should be resistance and have now pulled back in. So it's unable to hold or sustain an all-time high, which says it may be a false breakout. So patiently going to wait for a pullback. I'm not looking to actively or aggressively take any long positions on SPY. Maybe I'll look for some short positions. So we'll see what happens going into next week. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. Have a good weekend and good luck on Monday.